What's up, everybody? Welcome to another model breakdown. This is where I look entirely long at one particular kit in question, be it a single model kit, a vehicle kit, a squad kit, whatever, giving you my thoughts and opinions on it overall, likes and dislikes and so forth. Then talk a little bit about perhaps putting it together and painting it up. I haven't done everything, but I've done enough where I can talk about stuff like that. And then the last part is, if the kit was to be done over again tomorrow, what would I like to see and why, and do I really think it needs it? So, with that said, looking at a fairly recent kit, if you will, the Primaris Space Marines are a new addition to 40k into the Space Marine range. Still relatively young as far as kits and stuff go. So the Primaris Intercessor 10-man squad kit that I'm going to be looking at here is a relatively recent addition to the Space Marine range. So it's benefiting from a lot of the latest plastic technology and so forth. So with that said, let's take a dive into the 10-man Primaris Intercessor kit. First thing of note is it's a 10-man kit. They do offer a 5-man combat squad kit as well. There's no difference between the two outside of the quantity of models you can build. The Primaris combat squad kit only builds 5. It has 2 sprue. The Intercessor 10-man Primaris squad kit has 2 sprue as well, but twice. So the Primaris Intercessor Combat Squad has the same 2 sprue that you'll find in the 10-man squad. The 10-man squad just has 2 copies of each sprue. It's basically 2 5-man squads in one box, which is fine because at the end of the day, a 10-man tactical squad can be built that way as well, if you were to do so. So not a big deal. Anyways, the Primaris Intercessor kit, overall, I like it. 2 things pop up for me that I would want to see change, and I'll talk about it again at the end of this ramble. The first is the decal sheet. It's an Ultramarine Primaris decal sheet. The only Ultramarine part of it is this chapter symbol. The rest of it is fairly universal. I just feel it unnecessary to only be an Ultramarine sheet. Now, I love Ultramarines, but this is a very universal kit. It's meant to build a variety of chapters Primaris stuff, in the case of the Intercessors here. So why don't we have a Salamander decal on there? Why don't we have Imperial Fists or Crimson Fists or Black Templars or whatever, right? So that's a little bit unfortunate. But it's a decal sheet. There's ways around that. You can also buy this kit as a Blood Angels Intercessor kit or a Dark Angels Intercessor kit. The only difference between those two from the standard kit is that they include their respective upgrade sprue for Primaris. The Dark Angel one or the Blood Angel one. Still the same decal sheet and all that. So anyways, the other big thing that I'm just not a fan of is the fact that the ranged weapons have the left hand attached to them for the most part. This means the bolt rifle is part of the right arm bit, which is fine. That all being one piece is cool. No problem with that. But the left hand's also attached to that. This is very reminiscent of Necron Immortals and Necron Warrior squads, even Skitarii stuff. It's something that I feel, even though Skitarii is recent-ish in the grand scheme of 40k's range, it's something I feel should have been left in the past. We shouldn't be bringing that back. Now, GW has a certain approach to how models are being put together kit-wise now. I get that, and this fits into it. It's just not something I'm a fan of. It makes it a lot harder to really try and personalize your building of your kit without doing extensive model surgery. Some people just don't want to or don't feel capable or comfortable doing extensive model surgery. And some of the stuff you have to do in this case for extensive model surgery isn't an effective thing to do. So that's problematic, I find. Just having the left hand connected to the weapon dramatically drops what you can do with the bits in the kit. Because even if you wanted to take that bolt rifle with the hand on it and pose it in such a way where you have a completely different left arm to use, you now have this random left hand on there that you have to try and grind down and do stuff. It's awkward. So it's just something that I looked at from the very first showcasing of these guys, and I was just like, man, that's a real shame. But still, goes together very nicely. The kit has a fantastic instruction booklet. GW really has good instruction booklets these days, and for a bit, full color now, The old black and white ones are still good, but being, just having the full color is just that much better. It's just really nice instruction booklet to let you build the kit no problem. The problem with having the kit go together a very specific way, like they kind of set it up to do, is very much, you could say, catered to go a specific direction. Is that if you're building more than one squad of these guys, it's going to feel very samey. But there are some things you can do with some head posing and some arms up versus down, or just really thinking outside the box and kit bashing as what you can together can go a long way. So there is that. But anyways, the other weird thing is the way the legs are. The legs are basically 4 pieces on their own, and then they connect to the hips. And that's very different from a tactical squad or powered armored space marine kit, because the legs usually are one piece with the hip and everything, so it connects to the torso. Here you have the back torso and the hips is one piece, so the front torso glues to that, so there's no torso twisting going on. And then the leg bits connect to that. And the leg armor front piece to the shin is separate from the rest of the leg that glues to the hip, which I also looked at as a very strange thing. I think they did this to hide mold lines, which works great. However, it's just a weird setup. And I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit with their upgrade sprue. I feel like that was a nice opportunity to include some front leg pieces as upgrade sprue for the Dark Angels and the Blood Angels and the Ultramarines that they have out now. Eventually, when the Space Wolves get an upgrade sprue, maybe we'll see it there. Maybe we'll see just a more ornate upgrade sprue in the future that just includes some leg pieces. Because being separate, there's opportunity there to put like a chapter symbol, upgrade sprue a bit that way, or something ornate or whatever. So there is that potential now. It's just weird that it goes together the way it does. Again, I think it's to hide mold lines and whatnot. But it snaps in very easily, so not a big deal. It's just, you want to use glue, of course, but it's just odd when you first see it. You wouldn't expect that. But anyways, there's just some quirks of building it, which I'll get into in this next part in a moment. But overall, though, the model in the kits, or the models in the kit, I should say, look great. They go very, very nicely. You have some options here and there. The Sergeant doesn't just have one build set up and that's it. There are options. It's done well, and it just becomes a case of, okay, just have to try a bit harder to perhaps do things outside the box, and people have. So that's cool. It's just to do certain things requires a lot of extensive model surgery that might be beyond the scope of people's capabilities or comfort zone and whatnot. So if you're going to build these guys, the instruction manual is definitely worth it. I don't care if you are somebody who's been building Space Marines since Space Marines first came out. The nice thing about the instruction booklet is to at least know which bits are paired together. For example, the bolt rifle, the right arm and the left arm, everything's numbered on the sprue. So it might be arm 15 and arm 16 go together. You want to know this because that way the bonding point between the hand and the arm will match up very nicely, and you never want to have that problem. So really, I recommend doing that. If you're gonna batch paint stuff like this, that's where it can get a little dicey. You might want to do something like keep the arms with each other, paired with each other, or something, just so you don't lose track of it. But especially if you're going to build in sub-assemblies, that's where it can get a little confusing. But outside of that, should be fine. It's just really want to keep those arm pairs together, specifically because the arm connecting to the hand is important. Dry fit everything. Absolutely everything, especially if you're trying to do a little bit of posing variation, you definitely want to dry fit. But even building as intention, dry fit. The legs go together weird. The legs are keyed to connect to the hip in a very specific manner, and that's great because when you got it, because it looks almost seamless. The problem is getting it. Not that it's a problem, but you don't want to have your first time trying to make a line up when you have glue on the model. You want to dry fit everything first, And I really recommend, especially in that scenario, plastic glue. Some people swear by super glue. I've used super glue for years. I also have used plastic glue for years, and now for all my plastic models, I predominantly just use plastic glue because super glue can be instant take, right? And if you're not perfectly lined up with the way with that keyed section of the leg, now you gotta carefully break it off and try again and break off the glue and all that. The plastic glue gives you extra setup time. It gives you just a nice little safety net window to get it slotted just right. And then you hold it, and then it's tacky enough, and then it makes a very strong bond. So just dry fit everything is my point. And one thing I also like to do is build in sub-assemblies and then paint and then do final assembly and final touch-up painting. This is what I said is it'll be important to mark what arm bits are what, so you don't lose track of them and mix and match and then not have them go together right. And to help alleviate that, perhaps, the left arm, by and large, not going to block a lot of detail. I would poster tack the right arm to the model, then dry fit the left arm so where it would connect to the hand how you want it, then glue the left arm in place. Keep the right arm separate. Now you're just keeping track of the right arm to go with what model. From there, paint everything up. Final assembly happens. It'll go together very nicely because you already dry fit how and tested how it's going to go together. So now you just glue the right arm to the model. It matches up very nicely with its hand, and you're good to go. Or I should say the left arm matches very nicely with the hand on the right arm bit. So you know what I mean. The arms will match up very nicely, and you don't have to keep track of two arm bits. Plus, it's easier to paint that smaller arm bit of the left arm because it's already attached to the model and not really in the way of things. Just a suggestion there. So, food for thought. Dry fit is the name of the game with anything. And then I feel if you're going to go sub-assembly, just keeping track of everything in a case like this where two arm bits are meant to go together is also important. So, being a very recent kit, the crispness of the detail, the level of quality in the kit is it doesn't need to be questioned at all. It looks great. I don't think a kit like this needs to be redone for any purposes of quality and detail. However, I do think it would benefit from a restructure. And what I would like to see if they were going to re-release the Primaris Intercessor kit is the separation of the hip from the torso, making the leg and hip pieces one piece again like it is with the Space Marines. They could have the front of the shin piece still be separate if they want to do that. That's fine. But having everything else line up, I think should be, or having the hip and the rest of the leg be one piece, definitely I think can happen without losing any posing or what they've got going on. At most being two pieces for things like kneeling or running. But, keep the front shin armor part separate, I guess, if they want to. But really have the rest of that be one piece. Have the torso front and back be those two separate pieces that glue together on their own. That alone, even if you keep the hand on the weapon for the left arm, just having the torso separate from the hip gives us a lot more posability and variety that way to personalize our models. Doesn't seem like much, but it implies a lot and gives us cool capability. The other thing I'd like to see is that left hand being separate from the weapon. Put it back on the left arm or whatever. Just don't do that, is what I would like to see. Those two little things with the exact same sprue setup in terms of details, not changing anything, would make this kit exponentially better in my opinion. It's a great kit. It's definitely worth buying if you like these guys, but I don't know. It's that's just what I like to see personally. So at the end of the day, I really like the Primaris kits, really like the Intercessor kit, and I just like the Primaris scaling. You could say more like a true scale version of Space Marines. I've always liked that. I like Space Marine models a lot. It's just the scaling, the proportions of the Primaris feels better to me visually. That's why I really like these guys. So that's my take on the Primaris Intercessors. If you have any thoughts on your side of things, feel free to share it. Do you own them? Do you not? Share it in the comment section below. Anyways, that's it. So until next time, any question, comments, or requests, leave them in the comment section. Take it easy.